You unlock your phone, check your messages, tap Instagram, scroll for maybe 10 seconds, lock it, and then, 2 minutes later, your hand reaches for it again. Nothing happened. No buzz, no banner, no reason. So why did you do it? That question sounds simple. It isn't. And the real answer has almost nothing to do with addiction, dopamine, or willpower, which is exactly why most people never figure it out. Here's what this video is actually about. There's a quiet psychological mechanism running underneath your phone habit, and once you see it, you won't be able to unsee it. We're going to break it down into a few layers, and I want you to stay with me through all of them, because the last one is the one that almost nobody realizes is happening to them. So let's start with the behavior itself. Think about the last time you were standing in line, or riding somewhere, or sitting through a slow stretch of a conversation, glancing down just for a second. There was no alert, no reason to check. And yet the phone came out anyway. Most of us have never actually stopped to ask what we were looking for in that moment. We assume we're checking for something, a message, a like, some update. But if you're honest about it, most checks turn up nothing, and we check again anyway. So what is the phone actually giving us, if not information? To answer that, we need to go back to something a psychologist discovered almost 100 years ago, and it has nothing to do with smartphones. In 1927, psychologist Bluma Zygarnik noticed something strange while observing waiters. They could remember unpaid orders with remarkable accuracy, but forgot them almost immediately after the bill was paid. An unfinished task stays prominent in the mind precisely because it's been left incomplete. The moment it's done, the brain releases it. When you start something, your brain creates what psychologists call task-specific tension, a kind of cognitive arousal that keeps the task active in your working memory. Now here's where it gets interesting because your brain doesn't just apply this to actual tasks. Unfinished things create a cognitive burden, weigh more heavily on the mind, and are more easily recalled. And this extends to unfulfilled goals, not just incomplete actions. It applies to possibilities, a message you haven't received yet, a reply someone might send, a comment someone might leave. None of these have happened, but your brain doesn't file "nothing happened" as closed. It files it as open, a loop that still needs resolving. So here's the first real twist. You're not checking your phone because something is unfinished. You're checking it because your brain has quietly filed the possibility of something as unfinished, and the phone is a loop-closing machine that almost never actually closes anything because the moment one possibility resolves, a new one opens right behind it. But that's only part of the picture, because there's a second layer here, and this one explains why the urge never really gets tired. Imagine you knew with total certainty that you'd get exactly one new message every day at 6 p.m. Would you feel the urge to check every 10 minutes? Probably not. You'd just wait. Now flip that. You have no idea when, or even if, something is coming. Could be now, could be an hour from now, could be never. That second version is the one that keeps pulling at you. Unpredictability doesn't just add a little extra tension, it changes how your attention behaves entirely. A guaranteed reward gets filed away until it's due. An uncertain one stays active in the background of your mind, quietly demanding to be checked. This is why the anticipation of something interesting is often stronger than the interesting thing itself. The maybe is more magnetic than the yes. Once you actually see the message, the pull disappears. But the moment before you know, that's where the real grip is. And this leads to something that sounds almost backwards. A phone that's completely silent can pull at you just as hard as one that's constantly buzzing, sometimes harder. Here's why. When your phone is silent, nothing has been resolved. There's no evidence either way. Did someone text and it just didn't come through? Is someone typing right now? Did someone see your message and choose not to reply? Silence doesn't answer any of those questions, it just leaves them open. And an open question, as we already know, is something your brain wants to revisit, not once, but repeatedly, as if checking again might produce a different answer. So the quiet stretch where nothing's happening isn't neutral, It's often the exact moment your curiosity is working hardest. Keep that in mind because it connects directly to the last layer, the deepest one. But first, if you've ever felt like your phone habit is something you should just be able to stop through sheer willpower, I want you to notice how much more complicated this already is than that. This isn't a character flaw, it's a set of psychological mechanisms that are genuinely hard to see from the inside. If that framing is useful to you, there's another video on this channel that goes deeper into how invisible habits form, links above. Worth watching after this one. Now, let's zoom all the way out because the pull we've been describing isn't new at all. It's ancient. For most of human history, people lived in small, tightly connected groups. Being accepted by that group wasn't a preference. It mattered for survival. Knowing where you stood socially, who approved of you, who didn't, what was being said, whether you were included, that was constantly relevant, constantly worth monitoring. So the brain developed a standing habit. Keep scanning for social information. Don't wait to be told something changed. Actively check. Your phone didn't create that instinct. It just gave it an endless supply of things to scan. Every notification, every message, every platform is a potential piece of social information, a signal about where you stand with other people. And this is the deepest insight in this whole video, the one I mentioned at the start. Your brain may not actually care about the notification itself. It cares about what that notification could mean. Recognition, belonging, approval, opportunity, connection. You're not checking your phone for a message. You're checking it for a quiet answer to a much older question. Am I okay with the people around me? And here's where it stops even feeling like a decision. When someone checks notifications hundreds of times a day, the brain learns to expect them constantly. Eventually, ordinary physical sensations, muscle twitches, fabric movement, pressure shifts, can trigger false interpretations. This is the phenomenon researchers call phantom vibration syndrome, a misinterpretation of sensory stimuli, or in the absence of any stimulation at all, a tactile hallucination. Researchers found that nearly 89% of participants experience this at least once every 2 weeks. That's not a glitch in a few anxious people. It reflects a psychological dependency that blurs into generalized anxiety, where individuals with high phone checking habits report more frequent phantom vibrations due to anticipatory hyperarousal. In other words, a mind so primed to expect a signal that it manufactures one. If you've ever picked up your phone and genuinely couldn't say why, that's not a lack of willpower. That's a loop running entirely on its own. And the cost of that isn't just wasted time, though there's some of that too. The bigger cost is subtler. Research on attention residue shows that residue from one task can impair performance on the next, especially when the first task is unfinished. Every time you check your phone mid-conversation, mid-thought, mid-anything, you're not just losing 5 seconds, you're fragmenting the quality of whatever you were doing before and whatever you do after. You can spend a whole moment physically present but mentally elsewhere, half living in anticipation of what might be waiting instead of what's actually in front of you. And the strangest cost of all is losing track of the behavior itself. The habit is quiet enough, fast enough, and automatic enough to slip beneath awareness entirely. Which is exactly what makes it a blind spot. So what actually helps? And here's the thing, it's not willpower. Willpower is trying to overpower a mechanism you haven't fully understood yet. What actually helps is awareness, noticing the mechanism while it's running. A few ways to do that. First, notice the urge itself right as it arises before your hand moves. Just naming it, there's the urge, interrupts the automatic loop before it completes. Second, deliberately delay a check, not forever, just a minute or two. Watch what the urge does when you don't obey it immediately. Most of the time, it fades faster than you'd expect. Third, turn off notifications that don't need to exist. A notification badge functions like an open loop, keeping unfinished items visible and easy to revisit. Fewer cues means fewer loops trying to open in the first place. And the most useful question of all, what am I actually expecting to find? Ask it honestly every time you reach for your phone. Most of the time, you won't have a real answer. And that alone is the most revealing thing. So here's where we land. You came into this video probably thinking your phone habit was about distraction or boredom or maybe some vague addiction. But what's actually driving it is a set of deeply human mechanisms. Your brain's need to close open loops, its sensitivity to uncertainty, its ancient instinct to keep scanning for social information, and the way habits eventually stop needing permission to run. None of that is a personal failing. All of it is something you can now see, and seeing it is the whole thing. Because the behavior that ran invisibly before can't run quite as invisibly once you know what it actually is. How many times do you think you checked your phone today without a real reason? Drop a number in the comments. I'm genuinely curious whether people undercount or overcount once they actually think about it. And if you want to go deeper on how invisible habits form and why they're so hard to break, the next video is right there. It connects directly to everything we just talked about.